Hello everyone! Welcome once again to Brandao Collection. Today, we're going to be doing another collection room tour or overview. It's been a while since we did a full kind of room overview, so wanted to jump on here at the beginning of 2022 and take a look at the items we currently have here in the collection and on display. If you've taken a view at any of our previous collection overview videos, you'll notice there may be some significant changes to the room, to the items that we still have here in the collection, so we'll take a look at the current displays. If you're new here at the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification button to be notified when we post new videos. We're constantly doing things just like this, whether it be the occasional collection room overview, but most of the time doing showcases, haul videos, and much more when it comes to 1/6 scale figures, comic books, and even celebrity and entertainment autographs. So stick around here and we'll take a look at the items currently in our collection room. As with our previous collection room updates, we're going to start first off with the main set of IKEA Detolfs that we have in the room with some of our Hot Toys and other general 1/6 scale figures. We'll go through each individual shelf on each of these Detolfs one by one and talk a little bit in detail of the figures that we have on the shelf and a little bit more about them. So let's jump over and take a look at the first Detolf. Starting with the Detolf on the right wall, the Detolf all the way to the left of that wall, and the top shelf, which is going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy collection. So here we have Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We have Yondu behind him, which is one of my personal favorite figures in all of my entire collection. Next to him is Rocket and Groot from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Then we have Nebula, specifically from the Avengers Endgame line. And then we have Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I personally think these are the best versions of each of these individual figures as that have been made up to this point by Hot Toys. So these are the versions of each of these characters that I've decided to keep in my personal Hot Toys Marvel collection. Like I mentioned earlier, Yondu, I think, has possibly one of the greatest and best head sculpts that Hot Toys has ever created throughout their entire time in business. I'm happy to have this figure in the collection, not only, of course, being a fan of the character, but also how much of a piece of artwork I feel it is for this figure to be created. Down on the next shelf, we have here somewhat of a little bit of a Spider-Man No Way Home type of shelf with a Iron Man from the first Avengers film mixed in there. But we have the Iron Spider from Infinity War right there on the right side. Then to the left of him is the Mark 7 diecast from the first Avengers, which is my personal favorite Iron Man suit from all of the MCU films. And then we have Doctor Strange up there in the back. That is the Doctor Strange from the first Solo film, which, in my opinion, is my favorite of the Doctor Strange figures released so far. So that's why that's the only one I have currently. So just set up this shelf recently within the last few weeks. I really like the way that it looks, and I like the way that they are posed currently. Next shelf below is our Back to the Future shelf, here with the original Hot Toys Marty McFly and the box signed by the majority of all the major people from the first Back to the Future film. We have signatures here from Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Tom Wilson, Leah Thompson, James Tolkien, Billy Zane, Harry Waters, who played Marvin Berry, and even Claudia Wells, who played the original Jennifer in the first film. These are one of my prized possessions in my entire collection. Out of everything I have, this is a piece that will stick with me forever. I have no plans of ever getting rid of this after all the work that went into collecting these autographs and how much this piece means to me. So I love this little display that I have here on this particular shelf. And now the final shelf on this particular Detolf, and that is the Doctor Who shelf. Here we have figures from Big Chief Studios, specifically starting from the left, moving over to the right. We have David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. We have Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor. This particular figure comes with a plaque signed by Tom Baker himself. And then the last one we have is the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith. This is the second version of that figure that Big Chief Studios completed and did back in the day. Doctor Who is one of my favorite all-time shows. Now, I don't know how much longer these figures are going to remain in the collection, but for now, these are my favorite Doctors from the show, so these are the ones that are going to be on display at the current time. On top of the middle DTOF, we have the Mark 50 with a custom head sculpt from Max Nuts Studios, fighting against Thanos from Infinity War. These are some of the last of my Avengers figures that I still have in the collection. Recently, over the last few months, I've been selling off, so a lot of those ones we saw in the last collection video that were at the top of these DTOFs have left the collection as of right now, and right now we just have Thanos versus the Mark 50 there at the top of that middle DTOF. For that middle DTOF, we have what I like to call the Battle of Wakanda shelf. So we have the Infinity War version of Captain America right there in the front. Then on the left side, we have Bucky from Infinity War. On the right side, you have Black Panther, specifically from the Black Panther solo film. And all the way in the back there, elevated with his lightning, is Thor from Avengers Infinity War. I really love this display. I love the little backdrop that I was able to purchase online that fits there and adds to the scenery. I see these figures sticking around in the collection for the foreseeable future just because Infinity War is my favorite of all of the Avengers films, and I love the scenes at Wakanda, so really happy with how this display looks, and so these are some of my favorite characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right there in the center shelf on the center DTOF is my Hot Toys Spider-Man display. Spider-Man, as mentioned in my previous videos, is my all-time favorite superhero. I collect not only the Hot Toys, but also the runs of the Spider-Man comic books as well, and I love having this as my centerpiece of that DTOF collection. Of course, you have the Hot Toys Miles Morales from the PlayStation 5 video game there in the center. Then we have the tech suit from Homecoming on the right side. We have the homemade suit from Far From Home on the left. Then in the back, we have some more from the PS4 game. We have the Spider-Man 2099 on the top left, and then the Scarlet Spider suit there in the top right. In the middle in the back is a Stan Lee. That is actually a third-party figure. It is not the Hot Toys one, but I wanted to have a representation of the creator of Spider-Man, and of course, one of the most important figures in the history of Marvel Comics. Right below the Spider-Man shelf is a couple figures that are brand new to the DTOFs, which is this Empire Strikes Back shelf. Now, these Star Wars figures are normally on my Star Wars shelf, but since I had some empty spaces after selling off some other figures, I decided to move them over here into the DTOF. So we have the Hot Toys Empire Strikes Back Vader, which in my opinion is the best Vader figure ever made. Behind that is the Sideshow Collectible Snowtrooper, and then we have the Hot Toys Empire Strikes Back Yoda there on the bottom right. I really love how this shelf looks, and it goes along with the shelf that's right below it as well. On the bottom shelf of the middle DTOF, we have our JazzInc diorama of the Rebel base on Hoth from Empire Strikes Back, and in there we have the Princess Leia figure from Hot Toys, specifically in her Hoth outfit. This is an amazing piece. I still can't get over how amazing it looks in the collection. We did just recently do a highlight video on the display, talking about it in more detail, showing you some examples of display options. So if you are interested in learning more about this display and how it looks, we will have that video linked here to the video and in the description below. Up on the top of the final DTOF on this side of the wall is some of the leftover Avengers figures that we still have in the collection from the first Avengers film. We have Thor, we have the original Loki from the first Avengers, we have Bruce Banner, and we have the original Hulk figure. The other figure you'll see there is a kind of miniature version of Ant-Man riding Antony, the flying ant from the first Ant-Man film. I'm not entirely sure how much longer these particular figures will be remaining in the collection, but for now, this is where they are currently displayed. The first shelf on the top of this final DTOF is what I like to call the Avengers Endgame shelf. You have the Endgame version of Captain America right there in the center, holding Mjolnir and his shield. Then you have Ant-Man there in the left on the back, and then you have the Endgame version of Black Widow in the back there as well. This, to me, is the best version of Captain America. You can see there are a couple versions of Captain America in my collection, as other than Spider-Man, he's my personal favorite Marvel superhero. So I think this is the definitive version of that figure. If you're going to have one Cap in your collection, it is going to be the Endgame version, is that definitive Hot Toys version of this figure. Right below the Endgame shelf is a couple figures that are also new to the DTOFs, which is the Mandalorian shelf. We have not only the original version of the Mandalorian, we also have the deluxe version with the Beskar armor that comes with the two different versions of Grogu there, and we have IG-11 in the back. One of the really cool things on display here as well is a little plaque there in the front that is signed by Brendan Wayne, who is one of the men who play the Mandalorian both on The Mandalorian and on the Book of Boba Fett recently. So he's the one that has perfected that walk, he does a lot of the gunslinging action, and he is also the grandson of the famous actor John Wayne as well. So really, really cool to have that as part of the collection and part of this Mandalorian display. Below the Mandalorian display is the last of the DC Comics figures I have in the 1/6 scale collection, specifically characters from the Christopher Nolan Batman universe. We have the Joker here, the DX-11, one of the best figures Hot Toys has ever made. We have Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. This particular figure I did modify many years ago with a different body that allows him to bend his arms to a more kind of natural pose. And we have the newer Hot Toys Two-Face from a couple years ago that was a Toy Fair exclusive. Right now, these figures are sticking in the collection, but I'm leaning more towards selling off the DC-related characters and moving more to the Marvel stuff, as I lean more to be more of a Marvel fan, even though I do love the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy films. So we'll see where these figures are as we continue to grow and kind of move around things here in the collection. Then the final shelf on this particular DTOF, we have our Hot Toys Eric Draven, or the Crow figure. It's another figure just like the Back to the Future one earlier that we got the box signed by some of their surviving cast members from the movie, and even the creator of the original comic book series, James O'Barr. We have Ernie Hudson on there, we have Tony Todd, Sophia Shyness, and Rochelle Davis, who played Sarah in the film. So I'm happy that I was able to get these signatures back when The Crow was celebrating an anniversary around the time this figure originally came out. So I brought this box with me to a couple local conventions and got those signatures on the box. Another figure just like that Back to the Future one that will probably be sticking in the collection long term, just because of all the work that went into gathering those signatures and how valuable this is, not only just from what it is, but also on a personal level as well. Jumping over to the DTOF on the opposite end, on the opposite wall, we have our 1/6 scale Ed 209 figure from Hot Toys. As you can see here, unfortunately, it's starting to get that cracking that happens a lot with this figure right there on the dome. It is kind of a latex or a rubbery type of material that Hot Toys used. It did last a very long time. I bought this figure back in 2014 before that cracking really started happening, but unfortunately it has caught up to this figure and there hasn't really been a fix to it. It just kind of happens with that type of material that was used. But still an awesome figure, and I love having this one stand out in the display. On the top shelf of this DTOF, you have our Johnny Depp figure collection. We did do an overview of each of these individual figures last year in 2021. I'll provide a link to that video in the description below as well. But here we have some of my favorite characters that Johnny Depp has played over the years. Of course, you have Sweeney Todd, Captain Jack Sparrow, Ichabod Crane from Sleepy Hollow, and you even have his figure from Fantastic Beasts, where he played Grindelwald. Our next shelf is kind of a hodgepodge of many different things. The majority of it is 80s and 90s action heroes. So of course you have Robocop there in the front. That is the diecast version of Robocop. You have the Terminator 2 battle damage Terminator, T-800 there in the back. Then you have Indiana Jones, the Hot Toys version. And all the way in the back there is Leonidas from 300, who's the one who kind of stands out in comparison to the theme of the other characters on the shelf. The funny thing is about that Leonidas, he was the first ever Hot Toys that I got into my collection. I was given him as a gift back in roughly 2009, 2010, and he was the one that kind of started my love for Hot Toys and those figures. So that's the reason why he's still here, even if he does stand out a little bit compared to a lot of the other things we currently collect. Then the last shelf here on this final DTOF is our horror movie shelf with some of my all-time favorite horror movie villains. So of course you have Freddy Krueger, you have the Nun from the Conjuring series, you have Michael Myers, the version from the original Halloween, you have Ghostface from the Scream films, and you have Jason Voorhees in the back there. That specific Jason Voorhees being a custom figure that I made myself back in 2016, 2017 from just a mix of parts of other figures that I had around at the time. We also have on there's a bottle of water behind Jason that is from the original Camp Crystal Lake in Blairstown, New Jersey. It has the actual water from the lake in there, and we have that Jason mask in the front there that was created and signed by the original makeup artist from the original Friday the 13th, Tom Savini. So there is one more horror figure that we are waiting to enter the collection, hopefully very soon. We have the Hot Toys Pennywise figure that we're still waiting to make its way over to the United States. It has been released in China, so it should be within the next month or so that we get that one into the collection, and I'm very excited, and we will do an overview video once that figure is in the collection. As we make our way to the other side of the room, I'll show you a couple other random things displayed in my office. One of the main things I collect other than 1/6 scale figures and comic books are celebrity autographs, specifically Star Wars autographs. And here we have displayed some of my personal favorites. Now these that are up on the wall are actually copies. They are not the originals. I copied these with a high-powered, high-quality scanner, printed these photos out and put them in the frames. That way we don't damage the actual autographs themselves. But of course you have Mark Hamill up there, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, James Earl Jones, David Prowse, Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, Alec Guinness, and George Lucas. Some of the really super big names when it comes to Star Wars. And right below that, we also have our arcade 1-up Star Wars video game system as well. On the opposite side, we have some of our displayed comic books. These are what I have up right now. I do interchange these every now and then depending on what films are coming out currently or which particular characters are my personal favorite. Some of these are the biggest books I have in my personal comic book collection out of the hundreds and hundreds that I do own. But stay tuned here on our channel as we continue to grow our comic book collection, and we do have big plans for some big comic books to enter the collection from now all the way to the end of 2022. Moving now to the big kind of centerpiece of my entire collection, the thing you see right when you walk into my office, which is my Hot Toys Star Wars collection. I do have it in order of films starting from the Phantom Menace all the way on the far left. And as we continually move across these different figures, we go from the prequel films to Rogue One to A New Hope. Now we're in the original trilogy, moving our way through those original films, all the way transitioning to the Star Wars sequel films, the Disney films at the end from there. Here you can see a little bit of a wider view of what it looks like when you're looking at it straight on. You have the Star Wars Hot Toys logo right there highlighted. You have a couple different Star Wars pieces hanging up on the wall around the TV. And what we'll do is we'll go through each of the individual sections of the Star Wars figures and take a look at the figures that they represent. Here we start off with the prequel films. First starting off with the DX Hot Toys figure of Darth Maul from The Phantom Menace, next to the Hot Toys Qui-Gon Jinn. Then we have Count Dooku from Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and of course, also from the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, with Commander Cody hanging out there in the back. Next to them, transitioning to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, you have Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi here, with Captain Rex there from the Clone Wars doing a little jetpack jump in the back there. One of the best figures, Captain Rex I should say, of 2021. So that leaves us to move away from the Star Wars prequels into the next part of the timeline. Next in the Star Wars timeline, we have Rogue One, we have Jyn Erso there, we have Director Krennic, we have K2SO in the back there, we have a Death Trooper, and one of our recent acquisitions within the last few months, we have the Shore Trooper Commander there next to Director Krennic. And behind them, we have an 11x14 shot from Rogue One, signed by Jyn Erso herself, Felicity Jones. Next we have A New Hope, the first of the original Star Wars trilogy. We have the Sideshow Collectibles C-3PO, the Hot Toys R2-D2. The rest of these figures are all Hot Toys. We have Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Grand Moff Tarkin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the New Hope version of Darth Vader, the original one, a Sand Trooper, and the original Hot Toys Stormtrooper. These are all original from when Hot Toys first originally got the Star Wars license, and these were the first figures that they produced. And I got them right as it came out, as I was really excited as a Star Wars fan to finally get Hot Toys quality Star Wars figures. Moving away from A New Hope, we're moving into a little bit more into Return of the Jedi. We have Wicket and the Return of the Jedi Princess Leia here. We have Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, and even Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. There's a Scout Trooper right behind Luke, and a little bit of crossover from Empire Strikes Back. We got Bossk hanging out right behind Boba Fett, just so that the bounty hunters are close together. And then on the end there, we have Emperor Palpatine from Return of the Jedi. Transitioning into the sequel films, the Disney era, we have The Force Awakens. We got Finn there with the lightsaber. In the back, we have Luke with the Resistance outfit Rey. We have your classic Jakku Rey there in the front holding out the lightsaber. BB-8 right below her. Then in the back there, we have the Force Awakens version of Kylo Ren and the Force Awakens version of the First Order Stormtrooper. Peeking around the corner there is the Last Jedi Rey, but we'll take a look at that as we move to the next section. In the last section of the Hot Toys Star Wars figures, we have here the Last Jedi version of Rey next to the Last Jedi version of Kylo Ren, which, like I've mentioned with other figures before, has one of the best head sculpts that Hot Toys has ever done, in my personal opinion. It looks exactly like Adam Driver. And then we have in the back there the Rey from Rise of Skywalker, which I personally think is the best Rey figure that Hot Toys has done to date. And you can still see that First Order Stormtrooper up there in the front. Moving right below the shelves, just some other miscellaneous Star Wars items that I have in the collection. You have the collection of pins from Star Wars Celebration 2019. You have that light box made by Hot Toys with the Star Wars logo. I have there a sketch done by the creator of Clone Wars and Rebels, also the creator of The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni. A really wonderful sketch of Ahsoka that is also signed by him as well, one of the prized possessions of my collection. Also at the bottom there is a bunch of different items I've purchased at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, both in California and down in Florida at Walt Disney World. And we even have a little stuffed Grogu down there as well. Some other items on this bottom shelf, we have some vintage Star Wars action figures from the original film. We have the original Star Wars VHS set, which is how I was introduced to the original trilogy. I have a VHS for Empire Strikes Back signed by the director, Irving Kershner, and some other various Star Wars memorabilia down there as well, including that vintage blue Snaggletooth figure that my brother gave me for Christmas a few years ago. Some other random items there. We have a original production storyboard from Empire Strikes Back, signed by one of the stop-motion animators of the AT-ATs, John Berg, along with a Thomas Kincaid painting of the Battle of Hoth. We also have there at the top a Lego Y-Wing, and we have a crew patch from Empire Strikes Back, and one of the original Star Tours name tags from the first time I went to Disney back in 2001. Just as a little bonus, this is not in my office, but it is in the living room that's connected to my office. We have a little bit of a theater set up, so we have some posters set up here, including some additional signed items, a lot of our signed Funko Pops, and other different movie and TV memorabilia. So here's the main wall with those posters, with some of my most prized signed items on display. Once again, these items are the copies of the originals. The originals are all stored safely so that I can post these originals up here and don't have to worry about them getting damaged over time. Here we have some of our signed Funkos, starting with the Disney signed Funko Pops, including Jodie Benson, Christopher Daniel Barnes, Ming-Na Wen, Jim Cummings, Debbie Durst, Floyd Norman, just some of those from there. As we make our way over some of the other Funko Pops we have some horror ones, Beetlejuice, Black Phillip from The Witch, some random Universal Monster figures, a Reagan Pop signed by Linda Blair, also with an extra one just out of the box, Norman Bates, some Twisty figures from American Horror Story, some other random movie and TV pops from some of my favorite movies and TV shows, more Universal Monster stuff, some Legos, a Porg, and some other Star Wars stuff plushes right underneath some of our signed memorabilia. Here's some of those signed items, including the main one, which is a poster signed from San Diego Comic-Con by Chadwick Boseman, Letitia Wright, and Winston Duke, one of my pieces that will never leave my collection. Some other items include the shot signed by Harrison Ford from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and pieces from Doctor Who signed by David Tennant and Matt Smith, both the 10th and 11th Doctor, and that CD signed by Taylor Swift. We also have hanging up here on the wall our Batman the Animated Series LP album. We have the album cover signed by a couple different cast members from the show, which include Lauren Lester, who played Robin, Adrienne Barbeau, who played Catwoman, Melissa Gilbert, who was Batgirl. We also got the voice actor of Bullock. We're just waiting for Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and some of those other Batman the Animated Series actors to start showing up at conventions again, so that hopefully I can bring this with me and get those big names on here as well. In the far corner of the room, we have another case that has a lot of our different Funko Pop collections built into there. We got Back to the Future at the top. We have some Pennywise It stuff, Creature from the Black Lagoon collection, and some various other pieces down there at the bottom. Here we have our Pennywise Funko Pop collection. I don't have every single pop that Funko has made of Pennywise, but I do have the majority of them here. I'm actually just waiting as well for a signed pop to come in, signed by Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in both of those movies. I do have a signed SS Georgie down there, signed by the actors in the movie, the two kids who played Bill and Georgie in the film. So just waiting for that signed Pennywise. And if you're interested in seeing these more up closely, I am thinking about doing a showcase video. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll be happy to put together a showcase video going over each of these different Pennywise variant Funko Pops. Here's a shelf just dedicated to my personal favorite Universal monster, which is the Creature from the Black Lagoon. We did do a showcase video going over my Creature from the Black Lagoon collection in the past. The link to that video will be provided in the description below with the rest of the videos we've mentioned today. And the last shelf here is just some pops from Jaws. The Matt Hooper one is actually signed by Richard Dreyfuss, and we also have some random pops from Lord of the Rings, and we have one from another one of my favorite movies, Starship Troopers. So that was our current overview of our collection room and the items that are currently in the collection. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below on what your favorite part of the collection was. Also remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. We have some wonderful things planned for 2022, and stay tuned here at Brandao Collection for much, much more. And as always, keep on collecting.